Hello, everyone. We're going to talk about the Aquarius new moon coming up this weekend. I'm Lori Barnes, an astrology coach. I make these videos to help you work with the moon phases, seasonal cycles, retrograde cycles, and to help you improve your outcomes. So the new moon this weekend is going to take place on Saturday, January 21st. I like to do any of my new moon intention setting or rituals in the actual new moon phase. And so you want to know when that phase is going to start, so you know when it's time to do that. If you do anything ritualistic or intention setting before the actual new moon phase starts, you're going to be in the previous cycle, and you're going to be in the balsamic phase, which is about endings and winding down. So when it comes to the new moon, I always recommend knowing when the new moon is going to actually kick off that new moon phase in your area, and then do any of your new moon work after that time. And for this new moon, it's going to be 12:53 p.m. on Saturday, January 21st, if you're on the West Coast of the United States. If you're on the East Coast, it'll be 3:53 p.m. in the afternoon. And if you're in Rome, Italy, where I am, it'll be 10:36 p.m. here in Rome, Italy. Now, it varies a little bit based on location, obviously the time change in the time zone, but also it's not always an even 6 hours ahead or 9 hours ahead. You want to know exactly for your location and time. So I always look at timeanddate.com. They have the time conversion and they have the moon phases. So if you're not sure, you can check there. But if you go with the times I just gave you and you go after those times, then you should be fine for being inside of the new moon phase. The new moon is in Aquarius. The sign of Aquarius is an air sign and it's a fixed sign. So the energy around this new moon is going to be social with the air component. Fixed has to do with staying on course, maintaining the status quo. The fixed signs are Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. Now, of course, every sign has its own unique qualities. And so when we think about Aquarius, we're thinking about originality, innovation, a desire for knowledge, more and more knowledge. The Aquarius sign is about the philosopher and the nonconformist. It's about thinking about humanity as a whole rather than the one individual person. And Aquarius is known for being able to be detached and yet having a voice for a cause. Because of that objectivity and lack of emotionality, Aquarian energy is known to be able to talk about important causes without becoming overly emotional or upset or impacted in a way where it's like hard to get the message across if you're too attached to the outcome, where Aquarian is really great for reform work and humanitarian work, because the Aquarian energy is like getting really focused on the message and the philosophy and the reasoning behind this change, this reform and innovation, and being able to just stay focused on it, stay objective, stay detached. So it's like being able to really work with that energy and help large groups of people, masses of people. And that's really general Aquarius energy. You may be thinking about Aquarians that you know, or maybe you're the Aquarius sun sign yourself. And just know that Aquarius, if you're an Aquarian sun sign, moon sign, or rising sign, it's not going to work all by itself. It always has to mix with the other things in your chart. So, just to get an idea of what the Aquarius energy is, I wanted to give you that information. A new moon always means that the sun and the moon are in the same sign. So it's a new moon in Aquarius, and the sun and the moon are both in Aquarius. The new moon on Saturday is going to be really early in the sign. So it'll be 1 degree Aquarius. It's like a new moon that's new in the Aquarius sign. And it's also cool that it's the first new moon of the year. So it's the first new moon of 2023. And there's a lot of supportive energy around this new moon. I like how the different planets are interacting with each other, and especially because we are now just coming out of the Mercury retrograde, and very recently the Mars retrograde. So this is a really important time. It's the beginning of the new year. It's our first new moon of the year. And we had the Mars and Mercury retrograde taking place all of December together, but the Mars retrograde went back to November. Really, it went back to October. It went retrograde October 29th, but of course there's that pre-shadow time leading up to going retrograde where it's slowing down, and we're starting to feel the effects of that Mars retrograde back in October. So coming out of the Mercury and Mars retrograde into the new moon is an exciting time to really kick off the new year. More than January the 1st, I think of this new moon as it's time to hit the start button. That's a good way to look at this new moon. And starting Saturday, late Saturday or Sunday could be the better day to focus on your new moon, is really the time to really move into what you want to do for 2023, to actually take action is what I mean by that, to actually go and do things or put your plans into place. By now, hopefully you have worked through the retrogrades, you've done some refining, realigning, you've looked back, you've reflected, you have taken care of some unfinished business, you found out where there may have been some cracks in the foundation of whatever important things are happening for you, and you fixed those. You have resolved things with people, places, topics, projects, events, things, work, career, whatever it was, however it showed up. We are now moving past, or have moved past, the retrogrades, and now we're moving forward. And another really cool thing to be aware of is that with the planets going direct, including Uranus is going direct this month as well. And I don't work with Uranus retrograde by itself. I work with that in regards to how it relates to a natal chart, but I do work with Mars and Mercury and Venus retrogrades as a cycle. For everyone can work with that cycle, but for the slower moving planets, I would only work with them in retrograde as it relates to your personal natal chart. But anyway, I was saying that all these planets are going direct or have gone direct this month in January, and we won't have any planets retrograde until April. So we have all of February and all of March just kind of like to fast forward. So hit that start button starting this Sunday, or if you want to do it Saturday, just check the time for where you live and make sure that you're kicking things off under a new moon. And it's just a great time to get things started. I want to talk a little bit about some of the other things going on in the sky that are happening at the time of the new moon. The first thing is, well, we have 4 different kind of easygoing, flowing, supportive connections in the sky going on. The first one is that the new moon, that's the sun and the moon, will have a very flowing relationship with Mars, now moving forward in the sign of Gemini. So it's like if you felt tired and exhausted and fatigued through this whole Mars retrograde period that goes back to October, you may now feel like, some weight has been lifted from your shoulders and you're ready to move forward. And if you worked a lot with the Mars retrograde, hopefully you've cut things out of your life, your schedule that were holding you back, that were, weights that you were carrying, and you lightened your load. So now as you're moving forward, you're lighter on your feet, as a metaphor. Then we have the same new moon, the sun and the moon in Aquarius, with a sextile to Jupiter. That's a very easygoing, flowing energy, and it's going to just kind of inflate this new moon with some optimism and some luck. And it really depends on where Jupiter is in your chart, but it can really be opening up some doors for you. There's different parts of the chart. So, it could be with you, it could be with your creativity, it could be with a relationship, it can be with work. So without looking at your chart, I can't say exactly what part of your chart it's activating, but if you know your chart, then you can look at where Aries is, what part of your chart is housing Aries, and that's going to give you some more information. But it is a very, very nice energy to have at the new moon. Then we also have Jupiter and Mars in a pleasant relationship. They're both having pleasant, supportive, helpful relationships with the new moon, and then also within those two planets. And then lastly, we have Mercury in Capricorn and making a flowing and supportive relationship with Uranus. So that's going to bring in, like, intellectually. So the Mercury has to do with our communication style, our thinking style, our learning style. It also, Mercury in general, has to do with commerce, trade, business, contracts, things like that. And with a connection with Uranus, it can bring in some original thinking, original ideas, unexpected or brilliant insight, or just ideas that you were looking for an answer to, looking for a solution. And at the new moon, you may find that you are able to come up with some ideas to help you move forward, something that's going to break through any kind of barrier that you've been working with or dealing with the retrogrades. This is a time where you can start to really move forward, and you may have just some sudden and unexpected breakthroughs that you've been really trying to manifest for a while, and they could come to you over this weekend or over the next week as we move through this new moon energy. Now, there is another place where Uranus is making itself active at this new moon, and that is, it's in the same, and that is with the sign Aquarius, but Uranus is not in Aquarius, it's in Taurus, but it's sending this, if you can imagine, like an imaginary ray of energy to the middle spot in Aquarius, where we have 4 different bodies in Aquarius. So we know the sun and moon are in Aquarius. That's the new moon. We also have Venus and Saturn in Aquarius, and they're going to be later in the sign. They've been moving along in Aquarius, and Venus moves a lot faster than Saturn, but it's catching up to Saturn at the time of the new moon. So Venus and Saturn are together as a pair, and then the moon and the sun are together as a pair. And in the middle of those 2 pairs of bodies in Aquarius is this middle point, and Uranus is at that middle point in what we would call a square. So it's a 90-degree angle. And I think that's interesting and important, because it's like Uranus is making itself known, not just from what I mentioned before with its connection to Mercury, but now with its connection to the new moon and with Venus and Saturn. And as it's sitting in the middle there, it's kind of like breaking things up so that things can come back together in a better way, because it's about disruption so that you can reform things. It's about helping to make needed change. And I really like how that is participating in the new moon, because it's just going to help break things up that need to be broken up. So then as you're hitting the start button and moving forward with all this forward momentum that's coming with this new moon, that you have the pieces that you need to maneuver to put back together, instead of being kind of maybe stuck with something and you're not able to see how to move forward with it. Things can be broken up. And I'm being general about what that might look like, because it's going to be in different parts of the chart for different people. The concept is the same, but for someone it can refer to relationships, for someone else career, for someone else networking, for someone else education, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's, wherever it is showing up in your life. And again, if you know your chart, then you can look at where Aquarius is in your chart, and that's going to give you more information as to the topics, people, and events that might relate to. Next is Jupiter making a connection with Mercury, and it's a square, which means it's activating, which means it's challenging and it's pushing for change. So Jupiter is kind of like how we grow and expand. It's where we may have some luck and opportunity, and it's also where we can have some overindulgence. Mercury is about how we communicate, our communication style, learning, education, commerce. So these two making a connection in a square type of relationship, it's also activating and can help push things forward for you by pushing you into action. It's usually a little bit of discomfort that has people spring into action. When we're only dealing with comfort and things are easygoing, we have less motivation to make change. So this Jupiter-Mercury connection can be considered good in that it can help push you, propel you into some change. And then there's two more things that I wanted to mention. One is that Pluto is in the very late degrees of Capricorn, and the sun and moon are in the very early degrees of Aquarius. And Capricorn and Aquarius are two signs that are right next to each other. So even though these are not the same sign, in terms of closeness, Pluto is still very close to the sun and moon. And actually, it will have been the last planet that the sun and moon touched before they made their new moon aspect, or the connection that they make to create the new moon. And so there's kind of like this underlying power vibe, like coming out of the depths. Things could be coming out of the depths from the deep. Something new and big that's been bubbling under the surface may now become manifest, or at least the very beginning of something big and powerful, or some big change, some big transformation, or transformation that you've been working on, that you've been trying to push forward for a while, or through the retrogrades, can now come out. And there seems to be like something very deep and powerful that is underlying this new moon. The other thing I wanted to mention is that the new moon, so that's the moon and the sun in Aquarius, is going to be what we call in the middle, or at the bends of the nodes. And so it's not super close. There's still some degrees to travel before they get to the middle, but because the nodes have to do with fate and fated events and looking forward and backwards in terms of our lifetimes, that this new moon, if it does end up being representing a really important kickoff for you, an important starting point for you, that there could be some fated type quality that's built into your new beginning. And that it is neither good nor bad. It is just that there's this maybe feeling of it was meant to be, it had to happen now, or, just things that happen that have tentacles that reach into your lifetime, whether it's related to the past or the future, or both, that there might be this quality built in for some of the new beginnings that you will be kicking off this weekend. So really, that is the major overview of the new moon that's happening this Saturday. And so I hope that you take this information and you go out and you hit the start button on something and really utilize this very active and motivating, invigorating new moon to kick off your new year. I have some essential oil ideas for you to use to help support you through this weekend. And I can tell you, I have some of them in my diffuser right now, sitting right next to me. I'm breathing in the wonderful smells of ginger, lemon, and lime. That's what I have as a blend in my diffuser. Ginger, the first one, I chose this one because it's activating. It can give you a boost to just get you going. It's exhilarating and stimulating. The next one is lemon, and I like lemon. It's going to help energize and focus your mind. It's uplifting, invigorating, and refreshing. And then lime. So lemon and lime, both citrusy, they smell really good together. And I added lime just for that uplifting, feel-good vibe. That's really what I get out of lime. It smells like sweet candy, or I don't know if you would agree with that, but when I smell lime, it just has this smell that makes you smile. Also, lime, it's renewing, energizing, and purifying. So I like that for this new moon. The last one is peppermint. I didn't add peppermint to my blend because I thought peppermint would be better as a standalone, but I like peppermint because it's invigorating, it's motivating, and it helps with adapting and with new starts. And since this is a really big change of energy from the end of last year when we had so much retrograde energy, it's kind of like I was talking to a friend the other day who's probably going to listen to this video, and she was talking about how it felt like someone was holding on to her collar and she couldn't move forward and had to find other ways to go about working with the retrograde energy. And so we can think about this new moon as like, if you felt that way, that hand is letting go of your collar and you're free to move forward as fast as you want, move forward, move fast. And so peppermint is good for helping just adapt to those kinds of changes in the situation. So those are my essential oil recommendations for the new moon. Moving on to intentions. New moon intentions for Aquarius. I would do intentions around how you're going to move forward after the retrogrades, especially if you have been listening to these videos, or even if you haven't, but you work with retrograde energy. Now is the time to set intentions around moving forward now. So you're switching the gears from the reflection backwards, the refining and realigning, to actually doing whatever it is that you want to do moving forward. So hopefully you've started wrapping up, or you have wrapped up the refinement, realignment part, and now it's about moving forward. It's about wrapping all that retrograde work up and moving forward. So set intentions about moving forward on the things that you have been working on through the retrogrades. I would, just kind of like moving along that same concept, to set intentions around solidifying your 2023 strategy. If you haven't already written your goals, this would be a good time to get that done. And if you have, or if you haven't, I would include an implementation plan. So if you've already wrote your goals, now work on how are you going to implement it. So it's no longer planning and writing your goals. It's like, what is my to-do list? What am I going to get done in the next 1 to 2 months? And what are like a benchmark for 6 months? And then by the end of the year, what do I expect to have done? If you haven't done your goals yet, I would say get writing them and include an implementation plan. And then if you set resolutions, I know some people still work with resolutions. I personally work with goals, but hey, if you want to work with resolutions instead, go right ahead. Then this weekend would be one to start working on them. I was looking at something the other day, and it said that in January, like mid-month, there's like a dump your resolutions day. And I thought, oh, well, that's kind of unproductive. But anyway, looking at the new moon this particular year in January of 2023, I would say don't dump your New Year's resolutions, actually start them. If you tried to start January 1st and nothing happened, you didn't start it, and for whatever reason you were tired, you were too busy, things happen, I wouldn't give up. I would plan to do your New Year's resolution or kick it off or start working on it this weekend, start it Sunday. And just generally speaking, set intentions for just kicking something off, get something started, taking action and going. I almost look at this new moon as the true beginning of the new year, because it took that couple of weeks in January to get through the Mars going direct, finishing its retrograde cycle, and the same with Mercury. We're still in the shadows, so it's still going to take time for them to pick up, get back to speed, to recover over those degrees, the distance that it went over when it was retrograde. By mid-March, Mars will have finished covering in that old ground and will be completely finished with its cycle. But you can definitely move forward now. Just know that you're picking up speed. Don't expect to go from 0 to 180 in one day. So pace yourself. Mercury is also still in its post shadow, and it will be until February. I think February 7th is the date. I have it in the calendar that I give out for free. So just keep in mind that even though it's like, green light, the path is clear, there's nothing on the road in front of you, you can go, just like when you're driving, you hit the gas pedal, you have to pick up speed. So you want to do that. You want to start picking up speed. You don't want to just, you're not a Maserati or a Ferrari, or maybe you are, maybe you're someone that moves fast, but do allow yourself to pick up speed. So whether you're, a vehicle that you hit the gas pedal and it takes a little time to get up to speed, or whether you're a Maserati and you hit the pedal and you can go 0 to 60 in 5 seconds, whatever it is, you still have to start at 0. And I would look at this weekend as that's really when you're going from not on the gas pedal to just hitting the gas pedal and starting to move forward. After the new moon, I just want to give you some other activities that you can do as we are moving through the new moon phase next week. As I've said, kick off your 2023 goals for real. Just, I think that's really important to say again. And you may just feel like you want to socialize. Maybe the holidays and the retrogrades just had you so busy, you haven't been doing your normal schedule. Get back on your normal schedule, get back to your regular routines, and get back to your regular socializing. Aquarius is an air sign, it's a social sign, so you might want to get out and socialize with your networks. Since Aquarius likes to walk to its own drum, it likes to be different, it loathes to be like everyone else, I would say next week, if you have the opportunity to do something out of the ordinary that you've always wanted to do something different, and celebrate what's different about yourself instead of trying to hide. Sometimes we want to fit in, but the Aquarius is about letting out those things that are different and unique about you. Next week would be a good time to push forward on anything that you're working on that is innovative or reform-oriented or helpful for the masses, for the human race. So if that applies to you, like if you're into volunteering or you work for a nonprofit or there's something going on in your personal life or project, whatever it is, that is about helping groups of people, masses of people, next week would be a great time to invest some time and energy into that. Because Aquarius is an air sign, get out and enjoy fresh air. If you can't get out and walk around or find fresh air because you live in a highly congested downtown area, maybe go to a park, just try to get air. Also at home, open your windows, like air out your house. Try to open windows on 2 ends of the house so the air can breeze through and just really clear out the air. And then fill it up with those essential oils I mentioned. It's really great to diffuse ginger, lime, and lemon together, or just lemon, or just lime, or just ginger, whatever you have in your cabinet. Lastly, I would say join a group that does something different that can help you get out of any ruts that you might find yourself in. Like if you feel like you're stuck in any way, then go and join something that is different, maybe outside of your comfort zone, that might help you kind of jumpstart a feeling of being not so tied down or limited or restrained. Aquarius likes to be free. So those are some ideas of things you can do. You can find all this information on the blog. And I am going to end this new moon video with a few inspirational quotes for you. The first one is from Marcia Petrie Sue, and she says, "Stay away from what might have been and look at what can be." And, we're looking at the new year with our theme of hitting the start button, so I liked that one. The next one is from Oprah Winfrey, and she says, "Challenges are gifts that force us to search for a new center of gravity. Don't fight them, just find a new way to stand." Thank you, Oprah. And the last one is a Chinese proverb, and it goes like this: "When the winds of change blow, some people build walls and others build windmills." When the winds of change blow, some people build walls and others build windmills. Which one are you? Do you build walls or do you build windmills? Do you go with the flow and work with the energy that is coming at you? Or do you try to stick your heels in the mud and not budge and build a wall and insist that things stay the same? I like this because Aquarius is a fixed sign, and it can sometimes indicate energy that gets stuck, that gets stubborn. Even though it's known for its innovative and reform-oriented ways, Aquarians can get these ideals and have difficulty bending or evolving or adapting. So keep that in mind as we go into this Aquarius new moon, that there can be a tendency to get stuck in ideals. And really what you want to do, if you want to work in the best way and the best flow with the new moon, is to build a windmill instead of a wall. So I hope that helps you. I hope you have a great new moon and have a great time hitting the start button and enjoying the energetically beginning of 2023. I will see you next time for the full moon, which is coming up on February 5th, and that will be a full moon in Leo. See you then. Thank you. Bye.